A new you. Reinvent yourself completely. No one will recognize you. Written and published by Stoic Ranger. Introduction. There comes a time in life when the person in the mirror feels like a stranger. You're alive but not truly living. You're surrounded by people but feel unseen. You're chasing goals but your soul feels empty. That's the moment life whispers a radical invitation. Reinvent yourself. Not fix. Not improve. Reinvent. Tear down the false self built from fear, failure, and expectation. And rise as someone entirely new. Someone stronger, clearer, fearless. A version of you that will walk into rooms and people won't even recognize. Not because you changed your clothes, but because you changed your soul. This is your rebirth. This is your resurrection. Welcome to a new you. Chapter 1. Burn the old identity. Who you were is not who you have to be. One of the most dangerous beliefs we carry, often without even realizing itis, the belief that we are stuck with who we've always been. That the version of ourselves we've been carrying through the year shaped by mistakes, heartbreaks, past failures, childhood conditioning, labels, and people's opinions is permanent. But the truth is, it's not. You are not fixed. You are not final. You are not finished. You are fluid, capable of transformation at any moment, capable of choosing a completely different path, no matter how deep you think you've sunk into your old one. Think about it. How many times have you told yourself things like, "That's just the way I am," or "I've always been like this"? These phrases are often masks we wear to avoid the discomfort of change. We use our past as an excuse to stay the same, as if our history has more power than our potential. But here's what you need to understand deeply. You are not your history. You are not your bad decisions. You are not your failures. You are not the version of yourself that survived trauma, betrayal, or disappointment. All of that happened, yes, but it's not the definition of your soul. It's not the limit of your evolution. Reinvention begins with destruction. Not destruction of your value, but destruction of the identity that no longer serves you. That identity, the one built on insecurity, guilt, regret, fear, and the need for approval, must be burned to the ground. The identity that says, "I'm not good enough," or "I'm always the one who gets left behind," or "I'll never be confident," that's not you. That's a version of you molded by a world that didn't know how to love you properly, and you do not need to carry it anymore. Let go of the labels that were forced onto you. Let go of the name-calling from your childhood. Let go of that one embarrassing moment you keep replaying in your head. Let go of the person who broke your heart and made you believe you were unlovable. Let go of the friends who said you'd never make it. Let go of the voice inside your head that tells you that changing is impossible. Because here's the secret: reinvention doesn't begin when you add something new. It begins when you remove what's false. The need to be liked? Burn it. It's a cage. It forces you to shapeshift into someone who pleases others but betrays yourself. The fear of failure? Burn it. You failed before and you survived. In fact, those failures became stepping stones that got you here. The habits that drain your strength. Burn them too. You don't need to be the person who stays up late, eats poorly, avoids challenges, and makes excuses. That's not who you are. That's who you've been. And there's a difference. You are not your job title. You are not your income bracket. You are not your anxiety. You are not your trauma. You are not the person who always messes up. You are not the story someone else told about you. You are what you choose to become next. Now imagine this. What if today you erased everything the world told you you were? What if you didn't owe anyone an explanation for who you decide to be? What if your past no longer weighed on your shoulders like a burden, but instead became the ashes from which you rise? What if your entire life changed simply because you decided to stop being who you were and start becoming who you want to be? That's what reinvention is. It's not fake. It's not pretending. It's remembering. Remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. It's rising from the ruins of your former self and choosing to create something bolder, brighter, and truer. It takes courage, real courage. Because it means standing in the fire of discomfort, letting everything familiar fall away, and trusting that something greater will be built in its place. And yes, it will feel like a loss. You may grieve the parts of you that were broken but comfortable. You may feel fear as you shed the skin that protected you. But the fire that burns the old you is also the light that reveals the new you. Let that fire do its work. Let it burn everything that no longer belongs, not to destroy you, but to refine you. You are not stuck. You are not limited. You are not trapped in who you used to be. You are simply in the waiting room of your own transformation. So take a deep breath and strike the match. The old identity, let it burn. Chapter 2. Silence the noise. Create space for the real you to speak. Reinvention does not begin in action, it begins in awareness. And awareness is impossible when your mind is drowning in noise. Every day, from the moment you wake up to the moment your head hits the pillow, your brain is bombarded. Notifications, emails, endless opinions on social media, advertisements screaming who you should be, what you should wear, how you should think, what success looks like. It never stops. And amidst all of that noise, your true voice gets lost. You cannot hear the whisper of your soul when the world is shouting over it. Most people don't even realize it, but their thoughts are not their own. They are borrowed, inherited, downloaded from the chaos of the external world. The fear that you're not doing enough, the pressure to keep up, the desire to look perfect, speak perfect, live perfect. These are not your natural thoughts. They're the echoes of a noisy world that's terrified of stillness. And that noise becomes so constant, so loud, that silence begins to feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable. But silence is where your real power begins. If you want to become someone new, you need to find out who that someone is, and that can only happen in silence. You must begin by unplugging from the external noise and reconnecting with your internal truth. That doesn't mean you have to escape to the mountains or meditate in a cave. It means creating intentional space. It means choosing stillness over distraction. It means saying no to voices that drown you and yes to moments that heal you. Silencing the noise doesn't mean rejecting the world. It means filtering it. It means protecting your energy like it's sacred, because it is. Ask yourself, what am I consuming every day? Who am I listening to? Is this noise making me clearer or more confused, more powerful or more passive? Because everything you allow in has a cost. Every mindless scroll, every toxic conversation, every hour spent trying to impress people who don't even know the real you pulls you further from your own truth. To reinvent yourself, you need to clean your mental environment. Just like you clean your room when it's filled with clutter, you need to declutter your thoughts. Start by limiting your exposure to what doesn't serve your future self. Unfollow the noise, mute the drama, distance yourself from people who only speak from fear, gossip, or judgment. The less noise you allow in, the more clearly you will hear your inner compass. In the beginning, the silence may feel strange. You might feel anxious without constant stimulation. You may even feel lonely, but stay with it. That discomfort is not emptiness, it's healing. It's your nervous system remembering how to slow down. It's your mind beginning to breathe again. And it's in that quiet space that something beautiful starts to happen. You begin to hear yourself again. Your real self. Not the one that performs, not the one that pretends, but the one that quietly knows who you are, and who you were meant to become. In that stillness, you will uncover your own voice, the voice that is steady, clear, and grounded in purpose. That voice doesn't scream, it doesn't beg for attention, it doesn't compete. It simply guides. Softly, strongly, truthfully. This is where reinvention takes root, not in the noise of hustle culture or the applause of strangers, but in the sacred space where you meet yourself again, where you ask the questions no one can answer but you. What do I really want? What kind of life am I here to live? What do I need to let go of to become free? And the answers, they rise from the silence like fireflies in the dark. They don't come all at once, but slowly, patiently, one by one. With every day you commit to quiet, your clarity deepens. You begin to see what matters. You begin to feel what was numb. You begin to realize that the version of you the world tried to shape was never the full picture. It was just noise. And you were always something more. So take your power back. Carve out space to sit with yourself. Protect that space fiercely. Whether it's 10 minutes of deep breathing, journaling your rawest thoughts, walking without your phone, or simply watching the sky, make time for it. Let that silence become your sanctuary. Because it is in that silence that the blueprint of the new you is drawn. And once you know that version of yourself, once you hear their voice and feel their truth, you'll never again let the world's noise drown them out. You don't have to shout to be powerful. You don't have to be loud to be heard. Sometimes the quietest soul is the most unstoppable one, because they don't follow noise, they follow truth. And that truth, it lives in the silence. Chapter 3. Break the mirror. Stop looking for permission to change. One of the most silent prisons in life is the need for permission. Permission to evolve. Permission to dream bigger, permission to leave behind who you were. But let me tell you something deeply freeing. You do not need permission to change, not from your parents, not from your friends, not from society, and certainly not from the past version of yourself. You were born with the right to grow. Yet so many people stand still, not because they can't move forward, but because they keep looking for someone else to tell them it's okay. We look to others like mirrors, hoping to see a reflection that says, yes, you're allowed to change now. You're allowed to be different. You're allowed to dream higher. But when those mirrors only show us old versions of ourselves, versions shaped by fear, by misunderstanding, by limitation, we shrink, we wait, we doubt. And in that waiting, we slowly kill off the parts of ourselves that were begging to be born. You cannot become the next version of yourself if you keep staring into the mirror of who you used to be. And here's what's even more painful. Most of the people around you are not responding to who you are right now. They are reacting to who you were. They talk to the person you used to be. They expect the same behaviors, the same stories, the same habits. And if you suddenly start acting different, more confident, more quiet, more bold, more honest, they may feel uncomfortable, not because you're doing something wrong, but because your transformation exposes their stagnation. And in that moment, many will try to pull you back, not out of hatred, but out of fear, because your evolution forces them to look at their own stillness. But understand this. You do not owe consistency to your past self. You owe freedom to your future self. To break free, you must break the mirror. The mirror of past expectations, the mirror of labels, the mirror of fear-based self-image. Stop asking, will people accept me if I change? And start asking, will I ever accept myself if I don't? Because the truth is, every time you deny the change rising inside you, you betray your own soul. You abandon the most sacred responsibility you have to grow. Breaking the mirror also means letting go of the need to explain yourself. Not everyone will understand your transformation. Some will say, "You've changed," with suspicion. Some will say, "You're not the same person anymore," with sadness. Some might even accuse you of being fake. But reinvention isn't about proving anything to anyone. It's about becoming so rooted in your truth that outside approval becomes irrelevant. It's about choosing authenticity over comfort, growth over validation, peace over popularity. And let's be honest, it's not easy. Reinvention often feels lonely. There are nights when no one sees what you're building, when it feels like the whole world is questioning your direction. But that's because transformation is an inside job. It's invisible at first, like a seed planted underground. No one applauds a root for growing deeper. No one praises the soil for shifting. But without that silent work, no flower could ever bloom. So stop waiting for applause. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop waiting for someone to give you permission to become the person you've always felt burning inside you. The moment you break the mirror and stop seeking reflection in others, you begin to see your real self, not through the eyes of judgment, but through the eyes of intention. Create a new vision, not based on who you were, but on who you're becoming. Let that vision guide your every step. And when doubt whispers, "You can't just change like that," answer back with calm certainty, "Yes, I can, and I will." Because the real you is not hiding in the past. It's waiting in the future, arms wide open, ready to welcome you. So stop staring into old mirrors. Stop waiting to be chosen. Choose yourself. Break the mirror and walk forward. Let them be shocked. Let them be confused. Let them talk. You're becoming someone they've never met before. And that's exactly the point. Chapter 4. Change your environment. You can't heal in the same place that broke you. Reinvention isn't just about what's happening inside you, it's just as much about what surrounds you. You can do all the self-work, you can repeat affirmations, build new habits, rewrite your mindset, but if you stay rooted in an environment that keeps triggering your past, your growth will always feel like a struggle uphill. Because here's the truth, you cannot become a new version of yourself in the same space that kept the old you alive. Your environment isn't just a physical place, it's everything that surrounds you. The people you spend time with, the voices you hear daily, the habits built into your routine, the energy of your home, the conversations you tolerate, the places you return to that feel familiar but secretly drain you. You must understand this deeply. Environment shapes identity. If you live in chaos, you start thinking in chaos. If you are surrounded by people who doubt themselves, it becomes harder to believe in your own potential. If your daily atmosphere is one of distraction, conflict, gossip, or complacency, then even the strongest desire for change will be suffocated. Now pause for a moment and ask yourself, where do you spend most of your time? Who do you give most of your energy to? Are these places and people pulling you forward or quietly keeping you stuck? Because the scariest environments are not the loud ones, they are the silent ones, the ones that look fine on the surface but slowly dull your fire, the job that feels safe but kills your creativity, the friend group that laughs with you but never pushes you to grow, the bedroom that's cluttered, dim, and heavy with old memories you haven't released, the daily routines that pull you into autopilot, numbing your vision day after day after day. You must become ruthless in evaluating what you allow around you. If it costs you your peace, your energy, your momentum, it's too expensive. Reinvention begins when you realize you deserve to be in spaces that match the frequency of the person you're becoming, not the person you've outgrown. This doesn't mean you have to cut everyone off or run away from your life. It means you make conscious choices about what you expose yourself to. It means you no longer stay in rooms where you have to shrink to fit. It means you curate your world as intentionally as you would build a masterpiece, because that's exactly what you're doing. Here's something most people don't understand. Your environment sends signals to your subconscious mind all day long. If your desk is messy, it tells your brain, "We live in disorder." If your social circle constantly complains, your brain hears, "Growth isn't possible." If your digital space is full of mindless content, your brain registers, "This is what we value." But flip the script and the signals change. A tidy space, it says, "You're in control now." A journal beside your bed, it whispers, "Your thoughts matter." A walk in nature each morning, it reminds you, you are connected to something greater than your problems. Surround yourself with books that inspire you, voices that challenge you, mentors that stretch you, and environments that feel like the future you want to build. And what about the people? This is hard, but necessary. Some people are not evil, they're just not evolving. They love the older version of you, the one who doubted themselves, who didn't set boundaries, who played small. And when you start changing, they may feel threatened. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because your transformation exposes their comfort. You must understand, not everyone who came with you is meant to go with you. If your presence in someone's life requires you to abandon your growth, then you are not in a relationship, you are in a trap. And you must walk away, not in hate, but in love for yourself. Reinvention means grieving the loss of familiarity in order to embrace the birth of possibility. Changing your environment might feel lonely at first, but loneliness is not the enemy stagnation is, because even in solitude, you can hear your own thoughts. Even in new spaces, you can meet new parts of yourself. Reinvention requires space, space to rebuild, space to breathe, space to finally see what you couldn't while trapped in the same old loops. And when you shift your environment, your entire identity begins to shift with it. Your thoughts become clearer, your actions become bolder, your decisions become more aligned. Why? Because the soil has changed, and in new soil, new things grow. So move the furniture if you have to. Paint the walls. Declutter your room. Say no to that invitation. Change your phone wallpaper. Curate your feed. Set boundaries like they're life rafts. Get uncomfortable. Get intentional. Your future depends on it. You can't heal where you were hurt. You can't grow in what you've outgrown. You can't rise in a room built to keep you small. Change the space, and the space will change you. Honor your energy, design your atmosphere, and build an environment that reflects not your past, but your becoming. Chapter 5. Adopt the daily rituals of your future self. Big changes don't begin with giant leaps. They begin with quiet, deliberate steps taken daily. If you want to become a new version of yourself, you cannot wait for a special day, a burst of motivation, or the perfect moment. You have to begin now, right where you are, with what you do every single day. Because true reinvention doesn't happen by chance, it happens by choice. And those choices are built into rituals. Let's get something clear. A ritual is not just a routine. It's not a mechanical checklist. A ritual is something sacred, something you do not just with your hands, but with your heart. It's a repeated act that aligns your outer life with your inner vision. And when done with awareness, rituals become the architecture of your rebirth. Ask yourself, how does the future version of me live? The one who is clear, confident, healthy, focused, and at peace. What does their morning look like? How do they spend their time when no one is watching? What do they feed their mind? How do they move through struggle? What do they do before bed? Now here's the truth. If you can imagine it, you can build it. But it must start with rituals. Because here's what most people do: they wait to feel like the person they want to be before they act like them. But feelings are unreliable. They rise and fall like tides. If you only show up for your dreams when you feel inspired, you'll stay stuck forever. Reinvention requires you to act like your future self, even before you fully feel like them. That's not fake. That's training. That's alignment. That's faith in motion. Let's break it down with simplicity. You don't need to change your entire life overnight. Instead, begin by choosing 3 to 5 non-negotiable rituals that reflect the identity of the person you're becoming, and treat them with reverence, not as chores but as sacred acts of self-respect. Maybe your morning ritual is waking up early, drinking water, stretching, and journaling your intentions for the day. That's not just a habit. That's you telling the universe, I am present, I am responsible for my energy, I am building the life I see in my dreams. Maybe your midday ritual is taking a break from screens to walk in silence. That's not just a reset, it's you saying, my mind deserves clarity, my peace matters. Maybe your night ritual is reading 5 pages of a powerful book, writing down 3 wins, and praying or meditating before sleep. That's not just a bedtime routine. That's you reminding yourself, I am learning, I am growing, I am not my mistakes, I am my direction. These small rituals may seem insignificant at first, but they are seeds. And when repeated daily, they become roots. They begin to rewire your brain, shift your identity, and transform your entire energetic blueprint. You stop being a person who's trying to change and start being a person who is changed, day by day, decision by decision. The key is consistency, not perfection. Consistency. Because change doesn't come from doing something once. It comes from doing something until it becomes who you are. Until your actions are no longer just efforts, they are expressions of your identity. You don't just go to the gym, you are a person who values health. You don't just write, you are a creator. You don't just meditate, you are someone who protects their peace. It's also important to understand this. Your rituals are your boundaries. When you commit to them, you are telling the world who you are and what you stand for. You're saying, I value my growth more than your approval. I value my future more than my distractions. I value my peace more than chaos. And that kind of clarity makes you unstoppable. But yes, it will feel hard at first. Your old self will resist. Your old patterns will beg for comfort. Your mind will say, this is too much. Who are you trying to be? But that's not your truth, it's your conditioning. Every time you show up despite that voice, you weaken its power and strengthen your new identity. You're not faking it, you're forging it. And eventually, the things that once felt like a burden will become your oxygen. The rituals that felt like discipline will become devotion. You'll crave the feeling of being in alignment. You'll wake up with a sense of inner authority, because when your actions mirror your highest self, your life starts to flow not by accident, but by design. This is the secret of the truly powerful people. They don't rely on motivation, they rely on ritual. While the world scrolls, they rise. While others wait, they begin. While others wish, they build. So today, right now, don't wait to feel different. Don't wait for clarity to magically appear. Choose 3 rituals. Anchor them into your day. Protect them like gold. And let every act be a vote for the person you are becoming. Your future self isn't waiting for you at the finish line. They're waiting for you in your next decision, your next breath, your next small act of courage. Because who you are is not decided by what you hope for. It's decided by what you practice. And the more you practice being that person, the more you become them. Chapter 6. Let the past die without a funeral. There comes a moment in the journey of reinvention when you must face something that scares most people far more than failure: letting go. Not just letting go of habits or routines or distractions, but letting go of entire versions of yourself. Letting go of relationships you once believed would last forever. Letting go of dreams that no longer fit who you are becoming. Letting go of memories that defined you, but now confine you. And above all, letting go of the past without waiting for closure, applause, or understanding. Because here's the hard truth: some parts of your story will never make sense. Some chapters won't have neat endings. Some people won't say sorry. Some seasons will end without warning. And if you keep waiting for that perfect farewell, that last conversation, that final explanation, you'll wait your whole life. You don't need to throw a funeral for your past to walk away from it. You don't need a goodbye party to release what no longer belongs. In fact, the most powerful transformations happen not with dramatic exits, but with quiet decisions made in the heart. No announcements, no tears, just truth, just clarity. Reinvention requires this kind of emotional courage. The courage to stand before the mirror and say, "This version of me helped me survive, but it can't help me thrive. This dream once gave me hope, but now it holds me back. This person once made me feel seen, but now they keep me small." And when you see that truth, you must not flinch, you must not cling. Because the old version of you is not just outdated, it is weight. It is dragging you back to places you've outgrown. It is filled with stories that no longer serve the story you're writing now. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to walk away with peace, not explanation. Letting go is not betrayal. It is not failure. It is not cold-hearted. It is alignment. It is the recognition that your soul is evolving faster than the circumstances around you. It is an act of devotion to the person you are becoming. But understand, this process is not painless. It's raw. It's lonely. It's full of moments where you question yourself. Am I doing the right thing? What if I miss them? What if this version of me never comes back? You will mourn, yes. Not just the people and places you're releasing, but the version of yourself that believed those things were permanent. You'll miss who you were, even if that version of you was confused, broken, or small, because it was familiar. And there is something strangely comforting about familiar, right, even when it's painful. But let me ask you something. Isn't it more painful to keep living a life that no longer reflects your truth? Isn't it more painful to carry dead weight in your spirit while pretending it still fits you? Growth is supposed to feel like shedding skin. It's supposed to feel like outgrowing your favorite clothes. It's supposed to feel like standing at the edge of something terrifying and choosing to jump anyway because you finally believe you were meant to fly. There will be days when nostalgia creeps in like fog. You'll remember the laughter, the old routines, the comfort of who you used to be. And on those days, speak gently to yourself. Don't judge the tears, but don't stay there either, because the past is a place to learn from, not a place to live in. You do not have to explain why you're changing. You do not have to convince others to come with you. Some people won't understand your decision to walk away. Some may call you selfish. Some may guilt you. Let them. You are not here to be understood. You are here to be free. If it hurts, let it hurt. If it shakes you, let it shake you. But do not go back. Because what's ahead is not just different, it's necessary. Letting go is not the end. It is the beginning of spaciousness. It is the beginning of breathing differently, living differently, trusting differently. The more you let go of what you were never meant to carry, the lighter you become. And in that lightness you begin to rise. You don't need a crowd to celebrate your shedding. You don't need a ceremony to validate your departure. You don't need closure to find peace. Your liberation is yours alone. And the only permission you need is your own. So walk forward, not because everything makes sense, but because it no longer has to. Let the past die, without regret, without bitterness, without a funeral. And in the silence that follows, listen. Do you hear it? That's the sound of a new you being born. Chapter 7. Shock the world. Walk in the power of your new identity. There will come a day sooner than you think when you walk into a room and everything feels different. Not because the people changed, not because the world suddenly became easier, but because you did. Because you're no longer carrying the weight of who you used to be, because the air around you feels lighter, because you're standing taller not out of pride, but out of clarity, because the person you've become no longer fits the expectations others had for you, and suddenly they don't even recognize you. And that's exactly how it should be. You see, the goal of reinvention was never to impress the world. It was never to prove something to anyone. The goal was to become undeniable to yourself, to walk so firmly in your truth that your very presence speaks before your mouth ever does. And when that shift happens, when you show up fully embodied in your new identity, the world has no choice but to adjust. You will shock them, the ones who remember you as insecure, as afraid, as soft-spoken, as uncertain. They will stare as if seeing a ghost, not because you disappeared, but because the old you did. And what stands before them now is someone built not by accident, not overnight, but through fire, silence, sweat, and relentless inner work. The new you does not beg for validation, they radiate it. But before that moment arrives, before the world is stunned, you must own this new version of you in private. Reinvention is not about one dramatic entrance. It's about the countless moments when no one was watching and you still chose discipline over distraction, truth over approval, peace over performance, power over pleasing. You became this version of you when you woke up early, even though no one told you to. When you set boundaries that made people uncomfortable. When you walked away from chaos without clapping back. When you stopped trying to fix broken relationships and started protecting your energy. When you said yes to purpose and no to patterns. That is what built this quiet power. That is what made you magnetic. And know it's time to walk in it. Walking in the power of your new identity means showing up differently. It means speaking from the center of your being, not from the corners of insecurity. It means holding eye contact with life, not looking down, not shrinking, not apologizing for your presence. It means being unshakable, not because nothing affects you, but because you know who you are, even when everything is shifting. You stop performing and start embodying. You no longer try to be liked, you move from being aligned. You no longer chase what you once thought you needed. Instead, you attract what matches your frequency. People will ask, what changed? They'll think it was a job, a relationship, a lucky break. But you'll know it was internal. It was spiritual. It was rooted in the unseen choices that changed everything. And make no mistake, your rise will trigger some people. Not everyone will celebrate you. Some will feel threatened. Some will fall away. Some will question your authenticity because they can't comprehend the depth of your transformation. Let them. You do not exist to comfort their stagnation. You exist to live in your truth. Never shrink so others feel tall. Never dim so others feel bright. Never pretend to be small to make others feel safe. Because you did not rebuild yourself from the ground up just to fit back into a life you've outgrown. This is your time to walk forward without flinching. To speak your truth even if your voice shakes. To hold your standards even if it means walking alone. To love yourself so completely that your presence becomes a permission slip for others to rise too. That is the real power, not dominance, but alignment. Not ego, but essence. When you walk in your power, you'll begin to attract a different world. A world where your peace is protected. A world where your energy is honored. A world where you don't have to explain yourself, because your life speaks louder than your words. This is not just about goals, it's about frequency. You've shifted, you've risen, you've returned to yourself. And now you're ready to move in a way that commands respect, not because you demand it, but because you embody it. So let the world be shocked. Let them wonder where the old you went. Let them whisper, "You've changed." Because you have. You no longer belong to your past. You no longer beg for acceptance. You no longer wait for permission. You walk now, in clarity, in peace, in power. And as you walk, never forget, the most powerful version of you is not the loudest, it's the one who knows exactly who they are, and no longer needs to explain it to anyone. Welcome to your arrival. Not a destination, a homecoming. You didn't just reinvent yourself, you remembered yourself. And now, no one will recognize you, because finally you do. Chapter 8. Protect your peace like it's your purpose. After you've burned your old identity, after you've silenced the noise, after you've broken the mirror and walked away from the spaces that kept you small, after you've practiced the rituals of your future self and let the past die without a funeral, there is one more truth you must live by, every single day. You must protect your peace like it's your purpose. Because what's the point of reinventing yourself if you keep letting chaos walk back into your life like it still owns you? Reinvention is not just about becoming someone new, it's about guarding that newness. It's about understanding that peace is not a luxury. It is not something you seek on vacations or only feel when everything is perfect. No, peace is the foundation. It is the soil your strength grows from. And when you lose it, everything else begins to collapse. The world will try to rob you of it. Not always intentionally, but through distractions, demands, drama, guilt, urgency, and noise. And if you don't make peace a non-negotiable, it will slowly slip away, not in one loud explosion, but in 1,000 small compromises. You'll start to notice it the moment you say yes to something that feels like a no in your chest, the moment you answer a message out of obligation instead of alignment, the moment you let someone's opinion dig its claws into your mind, the moment you delay your rituals because someone else's urgency seems louder than your own clarity. This is how peace is stolen, inch by inch, moment by moment, until suddenly you're back in survival mode, wondering how you got here again. But now, you know better. You've rebuilt yourself from the inside out. You've suffered to find stillness. You've earned your center. So know it must be protected like a sacred temple. How do you do that? You protect your peace with boundaries. Clear, unapologetic, soul-honoring boundaries. Boundaries that are not meant to keep others out, but to keep you whole. You are allowed to say, "No, I'm not available for that. No, that energy doesn't feel right for me. No, I don't explain myself anymore." And you are allowed to say it without guilt. Your boundary is not rude. It is the doorway to your freedom. You protect your peace by protecting your time. Your time is not cheap. It is not renewable. Every moment you give away without purpose is a piece of your life you will never get back. Start treating your schedule like it's sacred. Block off time for silence, for creativity, for healing, for just being. Because in those moments, you reconnect with your why, and a person who knows their why cannot be shaken. You protect your peace by controlling your inputs. The books you read, the videos you watch, the music that plays in the background, the voices you follow online. All of these things are either softening your clarity. Audit your inputs. Ask yourself constantly, is this feeding my growth or feeding my fear? And be brave enough to choose differently, even if it means walking alone. You protect your peace by mastering your reactions. People will trigger you. That's a given. But your power lies not in their behavior, it lies in your response. Peace is not just a feeling, it is a discipline. It's the moment you pause before reacting, the moment you breathe before speaking, the moment you walk away from the argument because it costs too much. When you choose to protect your peace over proving a point, you win. Every time. And most importantly, you protect your peace by refusing to re-enter the chaos you left behind. This is crucial, because sometimes the test comes after the breakthrough. The people who doubted you will return when they sense you've changed. The patterns you broke will try to reattach themselves when you're tired. The old life will call you not because it misses you, but because it misses your weakness. But you've come too far to go back. You didn't rebuild yourself just to let the storm in again. You didn't crawl out of confusion just to drown in noise. You didn't fight through the loneliness of becoming just to betray your peace for temporary comfort. Now is the time to stand guard. Not with armor made of anger, but with presence made of clarity. You don't have to yell to protect your peace. You don't have to fight. You simply have to live in alignment. You simply have to stay true to who you've become, even if no one claps for it, even if no one understands. Because peace is not what happens when everything goes right. Peace is what you become when you stop needing everything to go your way. Peace is what rises when you stop forcing and start flowing. Peace is what remains when nothing external owns you anymore. Let your peace be your rebellion. Let your peace be your answer to chaos. Let your peace be your presence in every room you walk into. Let your peace precede you, and people will feel it before they hear you speak. So from this moment on, treat your peace like it's your greatest achievement. Because it is. It means you've done the work. It means you've come home to yourself. And when you protect your peace like it's your purpose, you'll realize that was the purpose all along. Chapter 9. Don't just change, evolve beyond recognition. There's a kind of change the world understands. The kind that's easy to categorize, easy to measure. A new job title, a different haircut, a shift in tone, a little more confidence, a healthier lifestyle. This kind of change is visible, even admirable. But there's another kind of change, a deeper one that goes beyond anything the world can see. It's the kind of evolution that shocks the system. The kind that makes people look at you and whisper, "That can't be the same person." That's not change. That's evolution. And it's what you were always meant for. You see, change is often about adjustment, tweaking habits, redefining goals, shifting perspectives. But evolution is a complete energetic shift. It's not just about becoming a little better. It's about becoming unrecognizable from who you used to be. Not because you're pretending, but because you've returned to your essence. To evolve beyond recognition means you no longer operate from your wounds. You no longer chase validation. You no longer fear solitude. You no longer compromise with the version of you that was built in survival mode. Instead, you live from a deeper place, a place untouched by noise, a place that doesn't explain itself to small minds, a place that is no longer asking, "Am I enough?" but declaring, "I am complete, and I choose to expand." This kind of evolution doesn't happen in one big moment. It happens in the moments no one sees. When you sit with yourself in silence and listen to the old beliefs dissolve. When you walk away from people who still treat you like a memory. When you forgive your former self not because they were weak, but because they didn't know how strong they truly were. When you set a boundary, not out of anger, but out of deep self-respect. When you stop fighting for your worth and start embodying it. You begin to notice the shift in subtle ways. You no longer feel the urge to respond to every attack. You no longer panic when things don't go according to plan. You no longer shrink yourself just to be included. You no longer chase love, you become love. The need to prove fades away. The need to compete disappears. The need to control loosens its grip, and in its place rises something unshakable, clarity. You become a presence that doesn't have to perform. You walk with a calm authority. You carry a silence that speaks louder than noise. This is the evolution that shakes people, not because you're louder, but because you're deeper. They don't know what to do with a version of you that doesn't play by the same rules anymore. You're not here to argue. You're not here to convince. You're not here to be liked. You're here to live in alignment. You're here to exist fully. You're here to evolve unapologetically. This kind of growth will cost you. It will cost you relationships rooted in your old self. It will cost you comfort, predictability, and familiarity. It will cost you the illusion of being understood, but it will give you everything real. It will give you peace that no longer depends on circumstances. It will give you relationships that meet you in your wholeness. It will give you freedom, the kind that doesn't come from escape, but from presence. It will give you yourself. Fully. Finally. Fiercely. You don't just reinvent yourself once. You evolve again and again and again. Each time peeling back the layers that no longer serve you. Each time coming closer to the truth of who you really are. Let the world call it weird. Let them call it dramatic. Let them say you've changed. Because they're right. But they're also missing the point. You didn't just change. You outgrew their version of you. You transcended the labels. You shattered the narrative. And now you're not just different. You're free. Free from the past. Free from the noise. Free from needing to be anything other than exactly who you are. So stop chasing small shifts. Stop asking how to make the old you better. Start becoming someone new. Someone so anchored, so elevated, so untamed, that no one who meets you now would believe the story of who you once were. This is your era of unrecognizable growth. This is your season of becoming. Not improved. Not adjusted. Not slightly better. Evolved. Chapter 10. Become the standard. Live so powerfully they can't forget you. After all the shedding, the silence, the walking away, the rebuilding, comes this final shift. You stop chasing approval. You stop waiting to be chosen. You stop hoping someone else sees your worth. Because now you become the standard. You no longer ask, will they accept me? You ask, does this align with who I've become? You no longer try to fit into the world. You start reshaping the world around you. This chapter of your evolution is different. It's not loud. It's not performative. It's not about standing on a stage shouting that you've changed. It's about walking into every room quiet, grounded, magnetic, and letting your presence speak for you. You no longer demand respect. You embody it. You no longer need to prove value. You radiate it. This is what it means to become the standard. You become the exemplar, not just in success, but in how you speak, how you set boundaries, how you treat people, how you honor yourself. You become the blueprint of self-worth. And because of that, people notice you not because you're trying to be seen, but because they feel your energy before you even open your mouth. You don't have to wear confidence like armor anymore. You are confidence. You are clarity. You are composure. You are peace in human form. And that kind of power leaves an imprint. That kind of energy is unforgettable. People start to adjust themselves around you, not because you demand it, but because your standards shift the atmosphere. Your silence becomes louder than their excuses. Your discipline exposes their avoidance. Your alignment makes their chaos uncomfortable. And this is not arrogance. This is the consequence of doing the inner work. You've raised your frequency. And now, anything that vibrates below it can't access you without rising too. So from now on, you move differently. You don't engage in low-energy arguments. You don't explain your boundaries. You don't force anything because what's meant for you flows with you. You speak with less words, but more weight. You walk slower, but with deeper intention. You love softer, but with unshakable self-respect. You make decisions not out of fear, but from fullness. You are no longer operating from desperation. You are leading from abundance, because the old you needed to be seen. The new you only needs to be real. Let them wonder what happened to you. Let them ask why you're different. Let them feel the shift they can't quite explain. You're not here to explain it. You're here to live it. This is legacy work now. You're building something that will last long after you've left the room. Your energy will echo. Your standards will plant seeds in others. Your life will become a lighthouse for those lost in the fog of people-pleasing, doubt, and fear. Because when someone meets you now, they're not just meeting a person. They're meeting a decision, a standard, a vibration, a message that says, this is what happens when you choose yourself completely. And the best part? You're not doing it for them. You're doing it for the younger you who doubted. You're doing it for the past you who begged to be chosen. You're doing it for the version of you who thought they had to shrink to survive. You're becoming the standard, so that no future version of you ever forgets who they are again. This is the moment everything crystallizes. This is the moment you stop seeking the path and become the path. Not because you're perfect, but because you're present. Not because you have all the answers, but because you are willing to walk in your truth, no matter how much it costs. So go ahead, be unshakable, be unapologetic, be the one they'll never forget. Not because you shouted, but because you showed up. Live in a way that every room you enter feels the vibration of someone who built themselves from nothing and now chooses everything with clarity. That's what it means to be the standard. And now, that's who you are. Chapter 11. Be so rooted in who you are that nothing can pull you back. Reinvention isn't complete when you change your habits. It's not finished when people start noticing the difference. It doesn't end when the past finally stops calling. The true completion of transformation comes when you are so rooted in who you've become that nothing and no one can pull you back into who you were. Because here's what most people don't realize. The greatest threat to your evolution is not failure. It's relapse into your former self. Not because you weren't strong enough, but because the pull of the familiar is dangerously seductive. Old versions of you don't die quietly. They wait. They linger in the background, hoping you'll get tired, hoping you'll lose focus, hoping you'll need comfort more than you need clarity. That's why you must anchor yourself not in motivation, but in identity. You don't just act like the new you. You become them at the core, so deeply, so completely, that the old you couldn't survive inside your nervous system even if it tried. To be rooted means you no longer react from the surface of life. You move from the center. You no longer ask, what do they think of me? You ask, what do I think of myself? You no longer run from triggers. You notice them, breathe through them, and respond with wisdom. You no longer perform. You practice presence. You are not shaken by rejection because you are not holding on to others to feel worthy. You are not confused by chaos because your internal compass is strong. You are not drained by criticism because your validation is sourced from within. But how do you get to this point? How do you root yourself so deeply that the world can't uproot you? You decide every single day to return to your core. Start with silence. Begin each morning by meeting yourself. Before the world can speak, let your own voice rise first. Speak truth into your space. I know who I am. I know what I stand for. I will not shrink. I will not apologize for growing. This is your root work. And when life tests you, because it will, you don't react out of habit. You respond from your foundation. Someone disrespects you. You don't chase revenge. You reinforce your boundary. Life throws a curveball. You don't spiral. You breathe. You observe. You adapt. People misunderstand your silence. You don't explain. You let your life speak. And when the past knocks on your door through an old feeling, an old friend, an old temptation, you don't open it out of curiosity. You ask, does this belong to the life I'm building now? And if the answer is no, you let it pass. Without guilt, without fear, without the need to make it make sense. That's what it means to be rooted. It means your peace doesn't depend on outcomes. Your worth doesn't fluctuate with attention. Your identity doesn't bend under pressure. You're not a leaf anymore, blowing in the wind of other people's expectations. You're the tree, calm, strong, immovable. You bend, but you do not break. This rootedness also brings something rare in today's world: emotional sovereignty. You stop outsourcing your joy. You stop blaming your past. You stop waiting to feel ready. You own your space, your time, your boundaries, your energy. And when you live like this, something remarkable happens. You no longer fear being alone, because you're anchored in your own presence. You no longer fear being misunderstood, because you're clear within yourself. You no longer fear losing people, because you've already found yourself. This is the unshakable foundation the world cannot give you. And because it didn't give it to you, it can't take it away. So now, every day, remind yourself, you didn't come this far to be dragged back into the shadows of who you used to be. You didn't fight for your clarity just to get lost in someone else's confusion. You didn't rise from the ashes just to crawl back into the fire that once burned you. You are not who you used to be. You are not their opinion of you. You are not a reflection of your past weakness. You are the evidence of healing, the proof of inner strength, the result of 1,000 private victories no one saw but you. And now you're rooted, grounded, solid. Let the winds of life blow. Let the critics talk. Let the tests come. You'll still be here, still centered, still rising. Not because it's easy, but because you know who you are now. And no storm, no voice, and no memory can pull you back again. Because you've grown roots so deep, you no longer need to be held up by anything outside of you. Chapter 12. Reinvented for life. This is who you are now. There comes a moment rare, silent, and profound when you look at yourself not with judgment, not with doubt, but with recognition. Not the kind of recognition that says, I remember who I used to be, but the kind that whispers, this is who I was always meant to become. This is that moment. Not just a checkpoint, not just a celebration, but a homecoming, a full circle return to the truth that you have, through fire and grace, through pain and power, reinvented yourself for life. No more halfway healing, no more temporary change, no more slipping back into old identities every time the world shakes. This is who you are now, and there's no turning back. Reinvention isn't about doing one hard thing and waiting for a medal. It's about waking up every day and choosing to live as your future self in the present moment until the rest of the world catches up. It's about carrying yourself like you belong in every room you walk into, not because of ego, but because of self-respect. It's about saying no without guilt, speaking truth without fear, and loving yourself without apology. You no longer pretend. You no longer negotiate with your potential. You no longer water yourself down to make others comfortable. You no longer perform, you embody. And this embodiment, this unshakable sense of self, didn't come easily. You had to walk through loneliness that hollowed you out. You had to endure nights where doubt screamed louder than dreams. You had to shatter stories you once thought defined you. You had to bury versions of yourself while no one clapped. You had to let go of the familiar, without a map, without guarantees. And yet you kept going. You kept rebuilding yourself. Word by word. Habit by habit. Boundary by boundary. Step by painful, sacred, beautiful step. And now you don't just look different. You feel different. Your energy has changed. Your eyes tell a new story. Your silence has a new weight. You've become a presence, not just a person. You no longer seek to be understood. You seek to be real. You no longer look for a place to fit in. You create your space. You no longer ask, "Am I ready?" You say, "I'm already walking. Watch me." This is what happens when transformation isn't a face, it becomes your lifestyle. People may try to pull you back. They'll project the old version of you. They'll test your boundaries. They'll pretend not to notice your glow because it reminds them of what they haven't done yet. Let them. That's no longer your concern. You don't exist to be digestible. You don't exist to be everyone's version of acceptable. You exist to stand in your full light, even if it casts long shadows behind you. Because here's what you now understand deeply. You are not returning to the old you. You're not repairing something broken. You're not covering up the past with new routines. You are living, breathing evidence that it's possible to start over, not from scratch, but from wisdom, from scars that have become strength, from wounds that have become windows, from heartbreaks that became rebirths. And the best part? You're just getting started. Because this version of you, this powerful, calm, clear, self-anchored version, is not the end result. It's the new foundation. You're not done growing. You've just outgrown the fear that once stopped you. You're not done evolving. You've just released the guilt that used to follow your joy. You're not done becoming. You've just shed the doubt that said you weren't worthy of this. And now, you rise not as a reaction, but as a reality. You don't need revenge. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need a loud announcement. Your life is the proof. Your peace is the evidence. Your boundaries are the declaration. So take this moment. Breathe in your own presence. Look around and within, and whisper to yourself, "This is me, this is real, and this is forever." Because reinvention is not something you visit. It's the home you build when you finally stop abandoning yourself. So build it strong. Build it honest. Build it on your terms. This is who you are now. And no one, not even the echo of who you used to be, can take that away. You didn't come here to tweak a few habits. You didn't endure all this just to return to a slightly shinier version of your past. You came here to be reborn. You came here to bury the old patterns, to silence the noise, to burn the false identity and rise from the ashes of who you used to be. And now, here you stand. Not perfect, not finished, but awake, present, rooted, real. The world may not recognize you anymore, and that's okay. You didn't rebuild yourself for them. You did it for the version of you who once cried quietly at night, wondering if things would ever change. You did it for the voice inside you that refused to die, even when your outer world crumbled. You did it for the you that was always waiting beneath the surface, powerful, clear, unshakable. This is not motivation. This is identity. From now on, you don't just change, you lead. You don't just react, you respond from your center. You don't just survive, you create. You don't just hope, you move with certainty. No more shrinking. No more waiting. No more explaining. You are here now. And every breath you take is a reminder. You have become what you once only dreamed of. Let others wonder. Let them doubt. Let them whisper. They've changed. Yes, you have. And you're never going back. Because you've learned that you don't need the world to understand you. You just need to never abandon yourself again. So, walk forward. With quiet power. With unshakable peace. With a fire in your soul and a softness in your spirit. You've earned this. You've created this. And most of all, you've become this. The old you is gone. And the new you doesn't ask for permission. The new you simply walks and never looks back.